Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is KPZ. You're here on the home of the Slightly Above Average Ship Review. I originally released this video on Thursday, but Vaz Vegas pointed out that I made an error in part of the video, so I decided to re-record it and expand some of the slides with a little bit more information. So I hope the revamped version is a little bit better than the original version. And, if you already watched, I guess you could get a refresher here. All right, Erich by German destroyer commanders should be the number one inspiration you have on almost every destroyer line, with the exception of tier 5 and up Russian destroyers, and of course the legendary destroyer Khabarovsk. You make an argument you don't need him on those ships, depending on your playstyle. But every other destroyer, this should be your commander's number one inspiration. All right, quick overview. Here's where I made the error. No smokescreen. France and pan-European destroyers with exceptions. For some reason, I put Russian there last time. I don't know why. Bad anti-aircraft capabilities. Japan, France, British, Pan-Asian. Probably could include Russian there as well. Ships with radar or sonar. Germany, British, Pan-Asian ships. A lot of those ships are British. And bad concealment. France, Russia, Italy, possibly, don't know yet, but I'm speculating. That's why I put the asterisk there. I think the Italian destroyers aren't going to have great concealment. The ones in the game don't have great concealment. All right, speaking of concealment, aside from Erich, here are the best free commanders for an inspiration build. You got Deng Shichang there, minus 3% concealment, plus 3 to torp damage. Jerzy Swirsky, minus 4% concealment. Louis Violette, minus 25% of your gun bloom when it's fully maxed out. And, of course, Gleaves, lengthening your torpedo range. Gunboat DD Inspirations, Sims, more hit points per tier. Ding Ruchang, faster reload. Philip Vine, incoming fire dispersion, probably more effective on the longer range gunboats. And Vladimir Trubetskoy reduces incoming damage. In my opinion, those guys are the best inspirations for gunboats. Okay, I don't even know what's next. That's how well prepared I am. All right, American destroyers. They have a good reload and a quick turret traverse, generally speaking. They have a long duration smokescreen. They generally have pretty good AA, except for maybe like the Summers at high tiers. You got 3 free commanders to choose from. Although they don't have great concealment, and at low range, lower tiers, pardon me, their torpedoes are very short range. So the rule for the American destroyer is a close range gunboat using that quick reload and that good turret traverse. You can use that to dominate the enemy destroyers. And we're just going to go through each nation and tell you what I think the traits are, generally speaking, of their destroyers. All right, now moving on to Japan. They have the best concealment for destroyers in the game. They generally have a long torpedo range and good torpedo damage, although the torpedoes aren't stealthy. They generally have a really nice quick rudder shift, but they've got a slow main battery reload and turret traverse. They have terrible AA defense, and they have low hit points, especially when you're building them and you use that concealment or the concealment skill in row 2. It has a hit point reduction. So you're taking low hit points, and they're getting even lower by the way you build them. I would build most Japanese destroyers as stealth torpedo boats. Moving on to the British. Well, first and foremost, they have a single tube torpedo launchers. That means you can make the torpedo spread as narrow or as wide as you want, or you could just fire 2 instead of firing all 3 or 4 or 5 at the same time. Very, very valuable for that. At the higher tiers, they have got a long duration sonar. Unfortunately, it's not very long range. And I found British destroyers to have really nice gun accuracy at range. Your mileage may vary on that observation. Short duration smoke, this isn't a minus or a plus. They've got a lot of smoke screens. They don't last very long. So you got to use those a little bit differently than a regular smokescreen. Wow, that went a lot faster than I thought. All right, German destroyers, good hit point pool, good armor piercing damage. Sonar starting at tier 5. The minuses, they have low HE damage. The 150 millimeter guns have a long reload. Just average maneuverability and concealment. I think they're really good hybrid destroyers. Also good with that armor piercing damage as hunting and killing cruisers if you can get them with that good flat broadside. All right, moving on to our next set of destroyers. I believe that's going to be France. I thought these were all supposed to be 45 seconds long. I guess the British one wasn't. French destroyers are fast. They have good HE and AP shell damage, good torpedo damage, nice hit point pool, a lot of minuses though. They don't have smoke screens, generally speaking. They have a slow main battery reload, a slow turret traverse, poor AA defense. To the last update, they only had one main battery reload booster. They don't have a gunboat commander. They've got crappy concealment. In theory, they're a mid range gunboat. French destroyers are most impacted by the introduction of aircraft carriers to this game. By and large, they've pretty much been neutralized, and it is unfortunate because I like them. But, when you're spotted the entire match, you're not going to last very long. All right, Russian destroyers, they have the best long range destroyer ballistics. They're very fast. They have stealthy torpedoes, but the torpedoes can be short range. Those of us who've played this game for a while remember the Minsk 4 kilometer torpedoes, poor rudder shift, bad concealment, and equally bad turret traverse as the French ships. Their best role is as a long range gunboat, the maximum end of your main battery range, in my opinion. Don't believe me? Just go watch the Zarkun Kabras video. Trust me, that's how I learned how to play Russian destroyers after an embarrassing event where he killed me in a game. All right, Pan European destroyers. The torpedoes reload quickly. The AA gets better as you go up the ship line. Tier 6 and up get those fast reloading guns that you might know from the Friesland. However, they don't have smoke screens. The torpedo damage isn't especially high. The destroyers are not especially fast. Makes you very vulnerable to detection like sonar, radar. Their role, low tier ships, torp spam. The high tier ships are more of a hybrid destroyer type. But again, you are very vulnerable to being caught out in the open. You won't be able to get away with speed. You don't have a smoke screen. That's why they're very vulnerable to being detected. All right, Pan Asian destroyers, they get radar at the high tiers. The deep water torpedoes are very stealthy with good damage. They've got a hybrid US UK smoke, so they get more charges, but they're kind of in the middle between the US's long smoke screen and the UK's short smoke screen. The minuses, deep water torpedoes can't hit destroyers, and I think a lot of players don't know that. You don't fire the deep water torpedoes, they can't hit a destroyer. The Pan Asian destroyers generally have poor AA. They're copies of other countries' ships. A lot of them are British, so they have bad AA. And the role is kind of based on the country of origin, or with the radar, they're definitely more hybrid ships. Italian destroyers, this is entirely theoretical, based on PC. Low damage torp spam. They're going to have an SAP main battery and that rolling smoke screen you know about. But they're going to have bad concealment. Their offense, a lot of times, is going to rely on being the enemy ship being spotted by a teammate if they're in that rolling smoke. They're going to have a short main battery range. Their role is going to be destroyer ambush killer or that low damage torp spam. They're going to be long range, slow, low damage torps that you'll be able to reload quickly and crank them out, get them out to the water. That's based on what I've seen on PC. Entirely speculative on my part. All right, so going over the ballistic characteristics again. American destroyers excel at that short range combat. French guns work more in the mid range combat, although they'll get floaty 7-8 kilometers. Russian destroyers excel at long range gunnery. Other characteristics, Japan, their guns have a really long reload, but they're going to have a really nice HE splash. Germany got that very strong armor piercing damage. Italian ships, when they come into the game, going to have that SAP. Torpedo traits, high damage, high visibility torpedoes, Japan, Italy, France. Low damage, high visibility, Pan-European. Moderate damage, but high stealth, Russia. And any ship that has deep water torpedoes, very, very stealthy. Don't sleep on the deep water torpedoes. All right. Here in a minute, we're going to move on to the next screen. Effective torpedo factors. All right, here's the deal, folks. The speed of your torpedoes multiplied by the stealth of your torpedo is kind of an inverse reaction or inverse relation to the reaction time of the target. So the faster they are, the stealthier they are, the less time your target is going to have to react and to turn away or to turn into the torpedoes. All right, target factors. How aware is that enemy commander that you're there and that you may have shot torpedoes? B, what's the rudder shift time and the maneuverability of the enemy ship you're shooting at? And C, proxy spotting. Is there a plane in the air? Is there another teammate of that enemy ship nearby? Is there sonar or radar going? All those mean your opponent may have a chance to dodge. Trusting the torpedo aim indicator is a matter of judgment. You need to decide if you're going to believe the ship's going to continue on that path or not. All right, considerations in a general scope for a match. What kinds of other destroyers are in the match? If I'm in a torpedo boat and the enemy team has a bunch of gunboats, I've got to tread very lightly around the capture circles. Detection platforms. How many ships have sonar? How many ships have radar? Is there an aircraft carrier? You need to know this when you go into a match. What type of match is it? Is it a domination match, an epicenter match? Is it a capture of the base match? Up tier versus down tier? Do I have a ship that's powerful enough to punch up or not? Are there platoons on the enemy team? They're going to be working together. Are there community contributors on the enemy team? They're generally pretty good. What is your own ability in the ship? Are you tired? Are you sleepy? Are you high? We've all been there. And are you burnt out? Because if you're burnt out, you're not going to play well. Don't forget the objectives. Domination and epicenter matches can be won simply by capturing and holding the cap circles. Force the enemy team to come and take these capture points from your team. I can't say that loudly and clearly enough. You do not need to kill the enemy if you capture the cap circles and hold them in these types of matches. Pay attention to the match points. I have seen many games lost because a player didn't realize his team was winning the game. He was the last ship on the blue team. He had a points lead at 200 or 300 points, but he got killed. You can win on points simply by running away if you have enough of a points lead in the match. And it does not matter what the match type is. It is that simple. Okay? The end. All right, general recap for destroyers. You want to avoid detection unless you're a gunboat and you're fighting another destroyer. You want to spot the enemy ships for your team. It is so vital because they can't shoot at them if they can't see them. Obviously, you want to defend your cap, but you also want to take the enemy cap circles and try to hold them for your team. You want to kill enemy torpedo platforms. Nothing does as much damage as a torpedo. You want to kill enemy detection platforms, sonar, radar, aircraft carriers. And you want to win the match, BAMN. What does that mean? By any means necessary. So if that means you got to run out the clock and run away, then that's what it means. Other tips: smoke screens attract torpedoes. Know which ships have radar or sonar. As a destroyer, you need to know that. Chasing a carrier to the back of the map, or chasing any ship to the back of the map is a bad idea. Map awareness is key. You got to know if you have backup. You got to know where your team is going. Don't turn against your turrets. If your turrets are all facing to the right and you turn to the right, your turrets have to turn all the way around. Don't do that. And last, have a plan on how to defeat the enemy destroyers if you come up against them in a match. All right, part two. What's the easiest destroyer line to start with? We are going to start with the easiest destroyer line. There may be a bit of what we like to call foreshadowing in this picture. I hope you join me next time. I'm sorry I had to re-record this, but I think I gave you some better info. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you on part two.